What's up, guys? So, a lot of theories about the complete potential and future gears of Monkey D. Luffy have been revolving around the internet. Now, One Piece is almost an 800 episode long series, so my research was quite wide end, but I think I've got the most certain theory regarding what Luffy's next gears could be. Well, before I begin, there are certain things to be noticed about Luffy. Like, he may be dumb and goofy most of the time, but when it comes to fighting, he's actually a battle genius. I mean, we have to give him that credit knowing the amount of situational wisdom he puts in during a fight. Another thing to be noticed about Luffy is that most of his attacks and moves are imitation of either a person or a thing. All of his moves are inspired from either of the one. Also, I think that the writer of One Piece, that is Ichiro Oda, took inspiration from the Cambodian god named Sun Wukong when he created Monkey D. Luffy. So to begin with, let's talk about the first gear. Gear first is pretty much a normal Luffy, In this state, he has his normal attacks, and if you remember, he grew up idolizing the red-haired pirates or the Shanks crew. Most of the crew members wielded guns and rifles and all that stuff, and that's pretty much from where he got the names for his moves. He always named his moves after guns and pistols and bazooka and all that stuff. All of that, I think he picked that up from over there. Moving forward, Luffy invented the next two gears, that is Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd during the Enies Lobby arc. Now before I begin explaining anything further, I want you guys to remember a few attacks Luffy invented by observing his surroundings before he invented his gears. Gum Gum Storm that he used against Crocodile, and Gum Gum Fireworks that he used against the White Berets, and of course the Gum Gum Windmill which he used against Arlong. So he picked all that up from his surroundings, and as I said that he's a battle genius. And by the time he entered the Enies Lobby arc, he had already seen the seaplanes at the Water 7, and that's where he got inspiration for the name of his transformation, that is Gears. So now if we look at Gear 2nd, which Luffy used against Blueno for the first time, he basically imitated the piston of an engine. Gear 2nd was all about him pumping blood in his veins, increasing his pulse rate to a level which enabled him to move much faster. Well, each of Luffy's gears leads to certain consequences. Say if we talk about Gear 2nd, it drains up a lot of stamina, making Luffy very tired after the fight. Moving forward to Gear 3rd, in this Luffy blows air in the bones of a specific part of his body to enlarge it. He got this inspiration from the Elbaf's giant he met at Little Garden. So basically he tries to imitate the limb of a giant. The risk involved with this gear was Luffy being shrinked for a few minutes, which he overcame with time. So coming to the latest gear we have seen in the anime so far, that is Gear 4th. Now the biggest difference over here is that Luffy is seen using this gear after the time skip, and by that time he had already learned to use Haki. Luffy's Gear 4th is a transformation which cannot be achieved without Haki. So it's all about Luffy pumping his body up by blowing air in his muscles, this time making him a bounce man. Well, in this form, Luffy uses the recoil power generated through springs made up of hardened rubber to throw powerful punches and kicks at great speed. He also shows the ability to fly by using the air pressure generated through elasticity of his legs. So basically he imitated Bellamy to form those hardened rubber shockers. The ability to fly was inspired from CP9's Rokushiki technique Moonstep. The most powerful technique in this form, that is the King Kong gun, was picked up from King Elizabello's King's Punch. Adding on to this, Gear 4th also has an enhanced form which he calls the Tank Man. He showed this form while his fight against Cracker in the Seducing Woods. He just ate up a lot of biscuits to enlarge his body further, which provided him with tremendous Haki-based durability. Well, this form has its consequences as well. As we saw from his fight against Doflamingo, Luffy was so much drained physically that he could not even move a muscle. To add on, he was unable to use Haki for about 10 minutes. Well, till now it was all about what we have already seen, but I think I've got very close to what is about to come. I believe that Luffy will show up two more gears in future, Gear 5th and the final gear of Awakening. Before moving on to my theory regarding Gear 5th, I would like you all to recall that Luffy possesses a very close resemblance to that of Sun Wukong. Most of the abilities are same, as you can see. I think that for Gear 5th, Luffy will take the Busoshoku Haki or the hardening Haki to the next level. It's gonna be more like a completely hardened body with pumped up blood as well as recoiled limbs, providing him with extraordinary speed. The unique abilities most likely to possess in this form is shape-shifting freely and quickly. Haki can be used to maintain rubber shapes for long, and as we have already seen from Luffy's attacks in his fight against Doflamingo, Luffy gains great control over his rubber properties when he's using Busshoko Haki. So imagine a completely hardened Luffy who can recoil any body part at will. He's extraordinarily fast and he can shapeshift any part of his body while fighting quite freely. I think most of his abilities in Gear 5th would consist of shapeshifting of certain body parts or him as a whole. A technique of such level has to have great risks. I think this gear would be very difficult to maintain for a long period of time, and after this, Luffy would lose consciousness for some time, making him vulnerable to other enemies. Coming down to the final gear, or the Gear of Awakening, Doflamingo revealed that once you have awakened the powers of your Devil Fruit, you enter a whole new world of possibilities. Luffy's awakening is most probably to be like he changing any substance he touches into rubber. Now this can be used to generate a lot of new techniques. However, I feel we will see Luffy wielding a staff in this gear. Since Luffy is wielding the staff, he will be able to make it stretch and shrink at will. I got this again by putting Sun Wukong as an analogy. So that pretty much sums up my theory regarding Luffy's next gear ups. Tell me what your reviews are about this in the comment section below, and do not forget to subscribe the channel.